This is a Galactic Network podcast.
The Podcast of Terror is a great podcast. It's covering movies that are not for children, and thus this podcast is not for children. The hosts are two adults who will use bad words from time to time. They'll also spoil movies if that's not your thing. So if you don't like spoilers and you don't want to hear some dirty language or some dirty references to dirty parts of your body, then please, please, please wash your body parts better and do not listen to this show. If you can handle it, and I hope you can because there's a great podcast coming up, then please proceed with Podcast of Terror.
Burn and fire, burn the fire. Burn and fire, burn the fire.
Welcome to episode 139 of the Podcast of Terror production of the Galactic Network. I'm your host, Matt Stein. Corey should be back next week. Erica was supposed to be here. She's the one that wanted to talk about Halloween H20. She had a family emergency. We're not mad at her. We still love her. Jack graciously stopped in 90 minutes before we started recording. He'll be here shortly. And Mike Beech is still coming. So should be a good time. Yeah, a bunch of other stuff I'm supposed to say here. For more on this podcast, including show notes, content information, subscription links, go to gncast.com/pot. Yeah, if you don't know who Mike Beech is, go back, check him out. He's Coner of Hate. Good friends of ours, and he also does the Do Whatever podcast and Camo and Hooks. We'll talk more about that when he gets here. If you don't know who Jack is, then you should question yourself. This is actually Jack's 10th appearance, which means he's been on 13.9% of Podcast of Terror episodes.
I lent my microphone to my roommate, who's an audio engineer, and when he moved out, he gave it back and he left this thing. And I think it's a screen, and I've been using it, but I don't think it does anything. Like, I'm sure it does something, but barely.
So this is great if we're actually just live and this is the podcast.
Not yet,
but
I'm
yeah,
recording
so it's either, to me, looking at it's either a shield against electromagnetic interference from one side, or it's a pop screen that should be on the other side. So what's great is there's a 50% chance you're using it wrong. We just don't know which direction it's supposed to go.
Yeah, no, I'm probably gonna get rid of it. I'm just too lazy to unclamp it.
Well,
I mean,
No, go ahead.
You put sponsor messages on it and shit. It's a big billboard, you know. We can just
I can do my Bean impression.
It looks like they make like isolation shields that would attach to a microphone, similar to that. Is there like foam on the inside, Jack?
Yeah, it's soundproof foam.
Yeah, so I think it's supposed to be on the other side, so when you're talking, whatever goes past the microphone doesn't bounce back. Right.
Which I don't need because I'm as far away from the wall as possible right now.
It now just looks funny because it's dangling there.
So are my levels okay? This microphone and this unit tend to be pretty hot coming in. So
I'm so happy you're drinking.
Oh yeah.
Last time you were on, I think you had like sparkling water.
Did I? Oh god, that's
I
rough.
don't remember.
No,
I might have been out of beer. That may have been the problem. That's not the.
It's been a while since you've been on.
Oh god, yeah, it's been a minute.
Gonna look up real quick.
At least more than 6 months.
Yeah, not for lack of trying.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's my fault, maybe. I don't know.
No, mostly me.
We never blame anything on you.
Oh, it's nice to have one dynamic like that in my life.
Well, I have to appease you because you're still like cooler than me.
Oh, yeah? I didn't know there was an objective scale. That's all right, good.
Sometimes there is. It's been almost a year. Last November.
What's the spectrum? What's most cool? What's least cool?
Well,
it's like Samuel L. Jackson, like the top, and then what would bottom be?
He retired, so I think he's fallen down. He's still on the list. He's got that kind of staying power. Pound for pound, coolest motherfucker. I think he's still top 10.
I would say AC Slater might be the top of the pyramid.
Yeah, he's kind of frozen in time, right? We're not talking about Mario Lopez because Mario Lopez does not equal AC Slater, really.
No.
AC Slater is like a slice.
I have it on good authority that he does not like when you call him AC Slater.
Well, I hate that kind of shit with celebrities. I despise that when they don't want fans to call him by, or don't address me by the most popular thing. Fuck you cunt.
So I want people to come around and call me AC Slater.
Right. And everybody else on the planet wants to be called AC Slater. except you piece of shit. That was actually AC Slater. You're too good for it now because you do fucking Entertainment Tonight or whatever.
If any one of us sees him, we should just go and just be really sarcastic and be like, "You're great on Access Hollywood." Is that better? Is that better, Mario Lopez?
I just remember coming home from school every day in junior high and turning on the TV and watching you on Access fucking Hollywood, Mario. that was really made great memories for me, you piece of shit.
Access Hollywood is a part of my childhood. Thank you.
That's like the bands that play arena shows and never play their hit. Same bullshit. It's like, you know why we're here. Like, there's like 10% of us that are in for the deep tracks. Everybody else bought a ticket here because they want to hear Sober, Tool. That's why they're all here.
So it's really funny that you're saying that, because when you text me to do this, I was at Metallica, and my buddy and I were complaining because they play Enter Sandman and Nothing Else Matters every night.
Yeah, they do. They play them at the end too. They play Sandman at the end of every set.
Which is awesome because we knew that was our cue to leave.
Yeah, you're like, all right, heard this live 40,000 times. I'm good.
Yeah, we stood like by the exit because the Brewers were playing a playoff game, and it was at the new Bucks Arena, so they had all these fancy TVs. As soon as they started Enter Sandman, I'm like, let's fucking go.
Yep, let's hit the fucking road.
Yeah, they're not going to play anything else.
I missed them when they came to ACL here just because I'm old and I don't do music festivals.
Dude, they did 2 weeks in a row. How did you miss 2 Saturdays in a row?
Because I'm old and don't get into stuff anymore. And I'm just not a music festival guy, man. It's hard for me to get on ACL. I'm an Austin resident, so I don't go to ACL, if that makes any sense. I don't go to South by Southwest. I don't go to ACL because I live in Austin. I just get the fuck out of town.
I've heard it's insane. Like, the people that I work with down there are like, you got to come down here for ACL and South by Southwest. I'm like, but I hate people. Like, I don't like crowds.
Yeah, and there's a lot of those. And it's annoying Austin, California transplant people. It's not my scene. But I've seen Metallica twice in my life. I saw him on the Load tour, I think. Load and Reload tour, and then I saw him one more time after that. I don't remember what it was in the interim between I think I saw the Load tour, maybe the Reload tour actually. It was pretty close together. But I didn't see anything on the Death Magnetic tour, and I'm gonna miss them on this one too. It kind of sucks because they're getting like pushing 60.
yeah. They're I saw them like 6 weeks ago, and then again last week. So
yeah,
they did like a month and a half in between Madison and Milwaukee, and it was cool. Like, my dad went to this one, and even he was like, "Holy shit!" He goes, "They don't sound terrible."
I know,
being almost 60. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, James is holding it together vocal-wise for 60. We're 55 years old. I got to give him that. And dude, honestly, Kirk looks fucking amazing. It's like everybody else it's getting rough. But you're like, Kirk is like, you look better than you did 10 years ago, bro.
Yeah, with the exception of gray hair.
Yeah, that's it. That's the only thing he's suffering. He's got weird, like, Hawaiian blood and stuff. He's like a demigod or something. I don't know.
He is the Rock, but like not muscular.
Right, yeah, he is. He's like the basement dwelling rock.
I could see him as like a background, like a minor character in the new Aquaman movie. I could see
great.
He's like guard number 2, like the palace. It's like, hey, Kirk. Hey, Aquaman.
We went and saw the new Halloween last night, and the trailer for Aquaman was in it, and I'm like, what a fucking stupid looking movie.
Does it look bad? Does it look dumb as shit?
I think it looks terrible. There was the preview for that and Captain Marvel. And my wife was just like, there are just too many of these now. Like, there's just no way to keep track of.
Aquaman looks really dumb, but I'm hoping maybe it'll be good because, you know, at least it's not trying to be serious like the last like few like Batman v Superman.
Yeah, DC is just hamstringing themselves every time, man, with the dark and gritty. People just don't want fucking dark and gritty anymore.
Yeah, no. Dark Knight was great, and we're good. We don't need any more.
Yeah, we gritted it up right there.
We don't need Dark Knight, but Flash. We don't
maximum fucking grit.
I was trying to think of like the highest grit sandpaper you could get, and then realized that I'm not a man and I don't know that.
Yeah. Well, the lower the number, the higher the grit. So like a 120 would be very gritty. Mm-hmm. And 80 would be rough. 80 would be like the Dark Knight.
No relation to Gritty from Philadelphia.
Correct.
I'm so mad the Islanders didn't come up with that first. I want to be a Gritty fan so much, but God, I fucking hate Philly.
And even Philly hates Philly.
I've never been there. I assume you've been there. Either of you.
Yeah, I have. My brother would play ball there for a few years, and I would hang out with him. It was a fun time.
Oh, cool story.
I've gone for the cheesesteak, so
Yeah, I've had real cheesesteak, and I've talked real football in a real cheesesteak spot with real Philly fans.
Wait, how is Philadelphia real football?
Well, I mean, I guess the football talk was real, not the football.
I was like, you need to go to a place where they fry cheese curds and then put it on top of a brat and then put that in a pretzel bun.
That's legit.
That's Wisconsin.
Yep.
So, if you ever want to feel really bad about yourself and slow your blood down, come on up for a visit.
It actually turns your blood into cheese curd, too.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Side.
If you leave here and you can still shit, you've done it wrong.
You're not living this life.
So let's talk about your Do Whatever podcast, since we're actually like recording and stuff now.
Yeah, since we're on a podcast talking about another podcast. It's like
that's my life.
It's like in Hamlet. It's a play within a play.
So this is podcast inception, basically? Because then after that, we're going to talk about Jack. So we're going to talk about a podcast and a podcast and a podcast.
Nice. And then if I could talk about another podcast that I talked about on my podcast,
yes,
that'd be pretty good too. So yeah, we're like those Russian nesting dolls.
Yep.
with
I'm also live this too on a mirror feed on Twitch. So recording this.
Nice.
So, oh my god.
No, not really, but that would be funny.
I have a dry erase board I may actually get to use right now to try and figure out how this is going to work.
And then like publish it to WikiHow later for how to record a podcast. Like, wow, they really know what they're doing. And then like get it on Expert Village. Yeah, so Do Whatever podcast, man. That is my baby. That's my number one. That is, and I know my co-host for Camo and Hooks, my other podcast, it'd break his heart to hear me say it, but Do Whatever's mine. That's my it's actually a solo podcast, man. Which is, I will have guests, obviously, but the basis of the whole thing is a solo podcast, and the whole thing started with that. Like some of the podcasts that I really, really like the most are solo podcasts, and I just feel like you almost have to be out of your mind to think that you can do that and carry a podcast for an hour. It's really hard, and I like the challenge of it. So the Do Whatever podcast is, the title pretty much says it. It's basically following me down rabbit holes. Like I'm a dude that has just always had the problem of wanting to try every single thing that I come across and like get into it. Like I have a million hobbies. I've done a million different jobs. Anything I get into, it's not just enough that I like, oh, that looks neat. And then I walk away. Like I want to do it and I want to try to get good at it. So this podcast, just instead of trying to say like, okay, let me focus on the subject that I'm good at or that I'm really into, because I've battled myself forever and ever. Like, what's that subject going to be? Is it going to be Highland Games? Is it going to be business? Is it going to be hunting and outdoors? What is it going to be? And I just realized like, no, it's all that, because I'm not the only person in the world like that. I know this. Most of the interesting people that I've met in this world are people that, yeah, maybe they have like a deep interest and a love in one thing, but they also, most of the interesting and intelligent people that I've met have a wide variety of things that they get into, and they chase rabbit holes and they get obsessed with things. It's just the nature of the beast. When you're a kind of person that can be good at something, you feel like you want to try to be good at a lot of other things. And so I embrace that. There's a part of me that rejects the idea of expertise above all else, specialization above all else. There's a part of me that rejects that. And instead of being ashamed of it, like I've been for a long time, like, I'm 39 years old and I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And instead of being mad about that, I embraced it. So I will pick a different topic, whatever I'm into, whatever my 3 a.m. YouTube rabbit hole was, whatever I've been reading Wikipedia pages about, whatever I get into, new hobby I learn, new thing I'm trying to do, or if I find a person that's doing something I'm interested in, I'll talk to them. That's basically it. And it runs the gamut. Like I've done episodes about being a father, and I've done several episodes about Highland Games, obviously. And then, I've done an episode about sword fighting, like just whatever strikes my fancy, whatever I have a little bit of background or interest in, I do. And I try to, carry it myself for the most part. The most recent one that I did was I went and competed in Highland Games for the first time in almost a year. And I've been out for a while. And instead of doing like the formal here at the desk with the microphone, notes and script and stuff like that, I just took my phone with me and I documented a weekend of a competitor. And I put that up there just because there's a part of me that thinks that'd be interesting to somebody, and somebody that's trying to chase a new hobby or a new goal. Like, okay, what does your weekend look like when you're a veteran of this thing? Like how, what do you do the day before? What do you do the day after? And then, sneak preview, most of it's just the day before is forget to get ready. And the day after is be sore as shit and feel old.
Didn't you win?
I did win. Yes.
I like how you just glaze over the part about how you haven't shown up for a year and then you do and just win.
I did manage to. Well, it wasn't my first rodeo, thankfully. I threw okay. I performed better than I thought I would. I hit some nice big round numbers, and it seemed fun. So, yeah, man. But that's a do whatever podcast. That is, obviously I got to do the thing where I say it's available everywhere. You can get podcasts. You can go to my YouTube channel too. But
that's great.
Yeah, that was the whole impetus, man. Like I'm very inspired by guys like yourself that can carry a podcast and keep it going and continue to put content out. When, I know we all have the self-doubt in between episodes where we're like, what the fuck am I going to talk about?
Dude, I literally was sitting around this afternoon. I'm like, why do I still do this? Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And like,
I got no plan.
Fucking 90 minutes ago, Erica's like, dude, I got the shit that came up. And I'm like, what am I going to do? And I'm like, no offense, I only know you so well. So it's like, I didn't know if we could really do an hour-ish episode, which is you and I without some sort of weird, awkward gaps. Or like one of us takes their shirt off and starts flexing. So
I figure that's going to be minute 15, I think.
All right. Now I feel like we have a challenge.
And we can get it in before then. Yeah, and I know, but once you turn on the mic, it starts to happen. And it's just like, I really think I talk a lot about craft and the idea of, no matter what you're into, like you should treat it like a craft. And I think this is part of it. And like, I've just, every time I've been on this show, I just admire that it's this living thing that you guys have that, you can be completely unprepared and like shit in your pants beforehand. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do. But once you get the mic on, the craft takes over. You know the moves, you know what to do, and you know how to create an interesting conversation. And I just thought of taking that a step further and going solo most of the time will be really hard because look, everybody listens to Hardcore History. Everybody listens to Bill Burr. And just to have people that are so well-versed in what they're saying that they don't need another person in the room. It's nuts. Yeah. And I feel it when I'm recording. I have to, obviously I know that Dan Carlin from Hardcore History works off notes. I straight up have to script stuff. So I don't just have giant pauses. I have to write out what I'm going to say. And I know they don't do that because, the subject matter knowledge is deep enough and they could do it for 6 hours if they needed to, but I got to write, man. Mm-hmm. But it's a good way to get some writing done too. I love to write. I've published one book about the Highland Games and I want to do another different type thing. So it's a great way to like actually force yourself to write something down when you're like, I haven't done an episode in 3 weeks and people are asking, so I better fucking write something down.
So it's not like consistently released. I didn't know how to say that without being like, man, you should put your shit out more often. But like,
you're not consistent. So okay, here's the thing. No, I wasn't because I knew my lifestyle. I knew all the other projects that I had and everything that I wasn't going to be able to do the deep dive style of podcast that I wanted to do and do it every week. So I really resigned myself to the idea that, okay, if I can get one out once every 2 to 4 weeks, that's fantastic. And I've been okay with that. I recently did a poll with kind of the core listening group, the people that are on the Facebook group of the Facebook page about it. And I asked, like, do you want more regular content, like weekly uploads, just, hitting the mic and go get something out there? Or would you rather continue to get these longer, deep dive, hour to 2 hour long exploration episodes, that are more formal? And it split right down the middle, the vote on that. So I still have no idea what anybody wants. So I don't mind doing quicker content. I have what I call detours instead of the full do whatever episodes. I'll do what I call a detour, which is anywhere between like 10 and 30 minutes while I just kind of talk about whatever subject hit me. And something that I was able to either just go off the top of my head, top of the dome, as they say, and or just something I was able to scribble out some notes or something. I'll do a detour once in a while, but I'm still not. I don't know. What do you think? Should I just go weekly or should I just keep what I'm doing? I don't fucking know.
Well, the problem is if you go weekly and you have a format that is so labor intensive that at some point your quality is going to start to dip.
Right.
So
yeah,
and I know you understand that, and you're not one to put something out that's half-assed.
Right.
So why not just shoot for like every other week? You
I
know,
think I could potentially do that.
Or do every other week, but do a detour, so you really only put out one full episode a month and one detour a month.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's a pretty good rhythm to put out there. Like every 2 weeks is not terrible because like it's you see the same thing, and we don't get all fucking podcast statistics here. Like for the listeners, I'm sure they love that. Oh, I wish they'd talk more numbers. But you can like the number of downloads, the number of listens you're going to get are going to stay pretty consistent. If you and if you just put out more episodes, generally you're going to have more ears. Mm-hmm. It's just going to happen. More people are going to listen to your stuff more often if you're putting out more often. But yeah, I'm in that same boat. Like I can't, like my business partner Matt Vincent, our friend Matt Vincent's podcast. Like this is an interview format, so he's always got that other person, like a new person that he can explore and have the conversation.
And
with
Matt could talk to the wall if he had to.
Correct, like and he often does.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a while. I just assume he's off talking to cooler people than me.
Yeah, 100%. No, but he's got that, and he's very good at it.
Yes,
like he's very good at the conversational style, and he can carry a conversation, but he can also prod people into it. He's learning the craft. That's been cool to watch with him too. Is like, this as well. Podcast hosting, there is an art to that. It's not just like have a cool conversation, because that's all well and good, but those can go completely off the rails and get, awkward and not be interesting anymore. And getting somebody to talk about themselves is a real skill, especially when there's a microphone, if they're not somebody that's naturally good at it or something. But not seeming like that's the thing that I'm seeing Matt learn as he does the interview format, is that interview people without making it a Q&A.
Yeah.
That's a real skill.
Yep. I think I did one episode where I actually wrote down questions, and it just was so uncomfortable.
It's like stilted, right? It's weird.
Yeah. Well, it was the guy who did the Inside Psycho podcast. And it was weird to begin with, because his like free time, I had to come home during lunch on like a Tuesday to do it.
Oh wow!
And then I had like these questions and like only a short window of time, and it's not like this where like randomly we're like, hey, it'd be cool if you came on, and like we became friends to an extent. Yeah. So it's just a much different situation. So this
is more business. It feels more business when it's somebody that's
yes.
Yeah, you're reaching. They're another audience, and they're branching out to you. It's weird. I totally agree with that. And like I've been lucky in that I have not had that experience of mine. Again, I'm not an interview format. I haven't had like, oh, here's a guy that I've never met in person or don't have anything in common with, but it sounds like it'd be neat. That's going to be fun, is trying to hold a conversation with that person.
But that's, like, dude, that's literally how we got to this point. I started doing this podcast, and I messaged Matt on Facebook, and I'm like, hey, I do this thing where we talk about horror movies. Are you in? He's like, fuck yeah, I'm in. Yeah. And then I just got really drunk with him on the internet, and like 3 years later,
more podcasting have happened. And then you had me on, who's not really that into horror movies, which makes it all the more hilarious when we get together.
Oh, absolutely. But you're not the only person that isn't really into horror movies that has been on. I'm trying quickly. Oh, my buddy Brad from Minneapolis. We did Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. Huh. So yeah, right. So he was at my house because he's starting a podcast on, like, he does all of our artwork for our band stuff. So nice. He knows a bunch of band guys too.
He's good, man. I didn't know that's good art.
Oh, thanks. But yeah, so
drumming's terrible, but the art is fantastic.
Oh, cool. We have to wrap this up now.
No, we're gonna keep going on the drumming. Let's talk specifically, technically, what I think is wrong.
I mean, if you want to come over and play it, be my guest.
No, pass.
Yeah, pass. See, all right, cool.
See, fucking coward.
But yeah. Anyways, so he wanted to start a podcast, so he was going to be in town. He came because we were playing a show in Madison, and it was my birthday, so he came to town for all that. And I'm like, well, Friday we'll record an episode of my show, and then we'll do yours right after. So he does not watch horror movies at all. Like, he listens to Taylor Swift.
All right.
Because you can't listen to Taylor Swift and watch horror movies, I think is what I just did. But
Yeah, I think there's probably two types of people in the world.
those who watch horror movies and those who listen to Taylor Swift.
Yeah, they do not intersect. That's a weird statistical anomaly, but I think you got it.
Yeah,
Well, like, what do we mean by listen to Taylor Swift?
he went and saw her in concert
Okay, all right. 'Cause
and loved every fucking second of it.
Occasional TS song, just
Yeah, she's a talented young lady. She's fine. Like there's nothing but
but if it's there,
Yeah.
It's
I
hard
don't
to
care
stake-
for it, but I'm not going to say she's not a good musician.
Sure, and but you're not gonna even if I like it. Look, I got two little girls. I got a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old little girl and an older boy. But he's now rolling his eyes about Taylor Swift, even though secretly I think he likes Taylor Swift.
I'm sure.
But yeah, when he was 6, he got a book from the library about her life story or whatever. I was like, yeah, I'm sure you hate her, buddy. In the last 3 years, you turned the corner and he just knows that his friends will make fun of him now. But yeah, so I got two little girls. I know my T Swift. But it's just not something as a man you really want to stake your claim on. So it's either but at the same time, your buddy, fucking kudos to him if he just doesn't give a shit. I love it.
He's so into weird eclectic music that Taylor Swift's not the weirdest thing he listens to.
That's not a bad thing.
No, he also is into weird
you know what?
technical death metal.
There is an advantage to it. I actually went to a Britney Spears concert.
My wife did too. It's hilarious. Sorry, that's the only other adult that I've heard say that.
Yeah, no, well, my girlfriend used to work the merch for them, so she was in with all the road crew, and we went down, and she was like, "I want to go say hi to my friends. They'll get us in backstage." And I was like, "Yeah, all right, if that's what you want." So I went, and it was I enjoyed it for the experience, just like how you're talking about how you like to go down these rabbit holes. This was a rabbit hole going to wherever the fucking Flyers play.
Sure. Why not do this?
But here was the best perk, and I bet your boy at the Taylor Swift show had this too. You ever go to a stadium and go to one of those gigantic stadium bathrooms, the men's room, and it's empty?
So funny you say that.
It was just me and 3 gay 16-year-old kids and a dad. It was great. We had 9 urinals apiece.
Yeah, just no lines. Everything's pretty tidy.
A couple things I got to answer here. One, Brad knows Taylor Swift's guitar player, which is part of the reason he went.
Oh, nice.
2, Metallica only lines in the men's bathroom.
Exactly.
The lines were so long, the new Buck Stadium has all gender bathrooms. The lines started to then shift to the all gender bathrooms because guys realized that they could use that too.
Oh, those poor women.
Yeah.
I feel like most chicks in a Metallica show have been through some shit, man.
There were some fine looking metal sluts there, I'll tell you that.
Nice.
I like a good dirty looking metal slut.
Yeah, you're in the mothership when you go to a Metallica show, man.
Yeah. Everyone who's 50 that hasn't drank in 6 months is just giving her hell and thinks they're 18 again.
You're not. I thought you were talking about me for a minute. Okay.
No. So when I went and saw them in Madison, they played where the Badgers play basketball. And because it's a college facility, there was no booze sold. Which no booze at a Metallica show sucks. No booze at a Metallica show in Wisconsin is worse.
Yeah.
I actually ended up, I had suite tickets. So someone I know, one of the sales guys from CDW that I know from work got me 2 tickets to their suite. The only booze in the stadium is in the suites. So it's me, our bass player, who has long blonde hair and has been listening to Metallica since he exited the womb. And then a bunch of 55, 60-year-old businessmen who don't get out much and have unlimited booze at a Metallica show. Yeah. So when they were playing Nothing Else Matters and Enter Sandman, Ken and I stood in the back just pounding the last beer, eating free nachos, and then just got the fuck out.
Nice.
Yeah. Free is the best flavor of nacho.
I didn't care. The pizza was lukewarm, but it was free. So it was good.
Like I said, best flavor. Best flavor with cheese. It's free.
I like we talked about, I don't have any questions, but I want to talk more about your podcast. Because I admittedly have never listened to an episode. And I can't even say sorry because I know you've never listened to an episode of mine other than the ones you're on.
That's actually untrue.
Is
So
it
how do
really?
you feel now?
Damn it! I feel like a dick. I'm gonna.
I can't say I've listened. I will admit I haven't listened to an entire episode, but I can't remember the last time I listened to an entire episode of anything since I had children. So it's not like you're unique in that regard. It's
but since the subject matter doesn't really appeal to you, like it doesn't. I'm not offended that you wouldn't.
Yeah,
really
but you appeal to me. So yeah, no, I like to creep it up a little bit, but it's I don't know. You were going somewhere with that, and I jumped all over it, but
I don't remember because now I'm searching for your podcast so I can listen to it. So I can't say I've never listened to it before.
We could just turn on an episode of mine and just listen to it all together.
That's fine.
Let's
do it. Let's do it. Everyone be real quiet.
Everyone, shh.
We just that's not like we can live tweet an episode of your podcast on mine.
Now we get real meta. Now I love it.
It was 2 hours and I only tweeted 3 times. Yeah, it was real slow.
I'm real bad at like live tweeting or like general doing Twitter. I'm pretty bad at. So
I've never tried to live tweet anything. I imagine that is labor intensive. I get into what I'm doing too much or watching, and we're like, oh yeah, here are my snarky thoughts.
Well, and that's the thing. Like I know Jack has done it, but Jack's a funnier human being than I am.
I do it very rarely. I did it for the debates. I don't remember really doing it for much else. I tried to do it for the Super Bowl one year, and it's distracting. You lose track of the game.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like it just unless you're a professional comedian, it's really hard to continue to create good content throughout without just getting hacky.
Yeah.
I once saw City and Color, which I guess you can make fun of me for seeing that because that's like sad kid music. But he, during one song, requested everyone put their phone away because he says, I don't want you to spend so much time trying to remember by taking a video that you forget to experience it while it's happening. Like,
yeah, that's fair.
I feel like if you're live tweeting something, that's exactly what you're doing. You're paying so much attention to remember it by live tweeting it that you're forgetting to experience it.
Sure. And I think the best way to live tweet if you're going to do that is watch something you don't really give a shit about. Like, just admit that you care more about the tweeting and the creating content and getting followers from that, and that you don't give a shit about the thing. Like, if I live tweeted the Golden Globes, I wouldn't feel like I missed a fucking thing because I don't care about the Golden Globes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, but it'd be fun to tweet and be a smart ass for a while.
Yeah.
You know how narcissistic I am? When we started talking about Twitter, I started pulling up my own Twitter account.
Huh.
And I'm still just over here trying to decide which one of your podcast episodes I want to listen to.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking for my snarkiest tweets, and I'm gonna laugh to myself over here.
I went with episode 7 with Spencer because he was my new hero ever since I watched him try to break the world record with Arnold taking a selfie of it.
Oh yeah, now Spencer's a fucking savage, man. That is a large, strong redneck.
I had a picture of Arnold taking a selfie of Spencer.
I remember that.
Yep.
That
was a good time.
No, that was an extremely cool day, man. That was
fuck yeah, it was. And I'm just some asshole that ate too many CBD gummies and was trying to stay awake in the stands.
Nice.
I just saw somebody posted a picture. So I forget who on my feed, but I think it's local. A cafe, add CBD oil to your latte plus $4.
$4.
CBD oil.
Well, he is in Brooklyn.
In your
$4.
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, I guess if you really want to, we should talk about the milligram and how much they're putting in there. And,
yeah, that's a great point.
Oh, I'm sure they're not ripping you off at all.
well, even if it is, what is a 1,000 milligram per bottle, and it's one full milligram, that's $100 bottle, and you get 30. Yeah, even if it's the strongest dosage, it's still fucking you 2 ways from Sunday. By putting grass water in your coffee, and I use the shit.
Yeah,
doesn't mean it tastes good.
It doesn't. Yeah, it may do some stuff, but I don't like it.
Oh God, no! I'm taking the oil now, but I tried gummies before for sleep, and I don't know.
Anything? They're working?
It's hard to say. Like, I fucked my shoulder up benching not that long ago, and I feel like I recovered pretty quickly. Like last Thursday, I could not physically lift my own left arm. I had to use my other hand to do it. It hurt so bad. And we played a show Friday night, and I was fine. And like, there's no way I wouldn't have been able to swing a drumstick otherwise.
This shit's like a miracle drug.
It really is. But I also like stretched and I have like cream. It's like Ben Gay, but with CBD in it that I used too. I just tried to find like wherever I twinged whatever muscle and work that fucker out. But I think it helps, but I don't think it's like a cure-all. Like I think some people are like, well, I'm going to take CBD and I'm never going to ever have to stretch again, and I'm never have to do anything, and everything's just going to be great. Like I think it just makes it easier for your body to recover.
And for all the hippy dippy fitness shit that I'm into, I've actually not dabbled in a CBD oil at all.
I was just going to ask if you had or not.
No, I haven't.
It's an expensive trial run. Because the cheapest is like $50 for a month's worth. And
so does it work if you take it regularly, or is it like where you can pop one or two and it's your first time and it's going to kick in, or is it more of a slow burn kind of thing?
I think it depends. It depends on what you want to use it for. So originally I got the CBD gummies, which were made for anxiety and sleep.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of trying.
Yeah, so I think you have to get like a higher concentration. Now I'm taking oil more for like the inflammation and the muscle benefits.
Okay. God forbid, I could use that everywhere.
Do they have a variety of it that's optimized for fighting middle schoolers?
Yeah, it tastes like sweet tarts.
Yeah. Okay. Just curiosity. I mean, not for me, but if somebody had
just
an
ask for a friend.
ongoing grudge. If somebody had an ongoing problem with a bunch of middle schoolers that were being a dick to them,
what the fuck?
2 blocks from my house, then like I'm wondering if there'd be a CBD oil that made me better.
Now I'm wondering.
Then I'm better.
I mean, it's Halloween time. You got pumpkins out front that keep getting smashed.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I mean, I'm starting to think that this is a real story. Like something real is happening with some middle schoolers in you.
Well, let me stop you right there, Matt Stein. Don't ever think that about anything I ever say.
Oh. So all those nice things you said about how we were friends was just a farce?
Well,
yeah.
Well,
yeah.
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 It's complicated, Matthew.
So it makes more sense now why it takes you 4 days to respond when I text you.
That's true. I am pretty much the damn worst.
No, I
with that kind of stuff.
You're a busy guy.
You assume that, but you also need to assume that I am the worst when it comes to replying, because I have the looking at it as like, okay, I got that in my mind. I'll deal with that in just a minute, and then just a minute turns into 4 days.
Yeah, 37 things happen.
Yeah. Yes.
But so you have children, and you co-run a business. You have things that it makes sense that sometimes it slips your mind. Like I have a buddy who has no kids. He's the program director for a radio station, and it will take him weeks to respond. Like he doesn't have a reason. Like something didn't just pop up and he's like, well, I have to deal with this. And then all of a sudden it's 4 days later. Like he looks at it and just ignores it.
Yes, that is. I have friends very much on the same space. I'm like, what is it that's pulling you away and distracting you for an entire evening? Like, I know what you do, man.
Yeah.
Like I've witnessed it in person.
Yeah.
It's not stress inducing.
Yeah. Our bass player, Ken, very, very good friend of mine, but he's single and has a cat. Doesn't leave his house much. He's a self-diagnosed homebody. Let's put it that way. And it's like if I text that guy and I don't get a response in 5 minutes, I assume he's died. Right. So like may have to go over there for a welfare check.
With Matt Vincent, that's kind of the way he's like a super responder. I don't know if you ever noticed that with him. He's like a super responder.
He responds if so he doesn't quickly.
Like the second you send it, like there's like the 3 dots. And then he's typing. Like if he doesn't respond at least something quickly, I'm like, well, fuck, what's wrong? I'm like a worried mommy. I'm like, oh, he's not responding to me.
Yeah, I've noticed that, and him and I even talked about it. He said it's the sales guy in him. You know, it's just you always got to be on top of your game. And that was one thing that always impressed me. And I had talked to a friend of mine that actually introduced me to your brand.
Yeah.
So when Matt and I started talking, I'm like, it's so weird, like. He responds so quickly all the time, and he has so much shit going on. Like, it blows my fucking mind.
Right, but at the same time, like it's kind of funny because we talk about it as a very positive quality. But I've spent a lot of time with Matt, and
he's staring at his phone the whole time.
Drive to do that is also a source of stress. Mm-hmm. Like it's also like there are times when it probably he would be better off. And he knows is like that's not important, and that can wait. That email can wait. Like it's not a big deal, but like the ticking clock in his head makes him feel so stressed that he has to do it, and it breaks him out of the moment what he's doing and all that stuff. So it's like a double-edged sword, the connectivity thing. And like I'm like every other person of this generation now, like that didn't grow up with it but now has it. Where I'm trying to figure out the balance between like how connected can I be. I've recently gotten pretty good at taking like hours at a time to put the fucking phone away and not do anything. Like
the new, and I know you don't have an iPhone, but the new iPhone update it tells you how much time you look at your phone every day.
Oh Jesus!
And it's fucking terrifying. But at first I was like, oh my God, it's so bad. But then I thought about it, and it's like if my phone screen is on and I'm using it as a GPS, it counts.
That's true.
So shortly after I updated it, I like drove.
It's not like it's not like you're browsing Reddit and that.
No, and it'll tell you. It'll say like you spent this much time on Facebook. And it's like you can set like limits and shit, which is kind of nice. But
Twitter is my number one by far. Like when I look at it, it's like 70% of my screen time is Twitter. The rest is like texting, and then it's just.
It's Instagram for me, man. That's where we primarily. That's our workspace.
Which it makes sense for you. Mine's usually just text.
Twitter's been taking an uptake for me lately because I've had a lot more smart ass things to say. Pretty much, I just treat Twitter as like a joke repository. It's like, I said a funny thing one time. I'm going to write it down on Twitter so I can prove to my kids in 10 years that I said something funny.
I kind of like. I personally am starting to like Instagram more because it's like I don't have to follow. Like someone can follow me. I don't have to follow them back.
Yes,
there isn't like that like need to feel like you're connected with someone. Like I try and keep Facebook only to like friends or like people that I personally know. And that fucking spun out of control because everyone and their mother who saw I play in a band that's from a band in Wisconsin is like, I'm going to be friends with that guy. And I can't not friend him because if I don't, then they're going to be like, that dude's a dick. Like
there's like a social consequence to it. Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. Like I got to the point a couple of years ago where I don't use Facebook for anything other than work now. It just got to the point where it overwhelmed me, and it was lo and behold, it was right in the middle of the 2016 election season or whatever. I was like, that's good. I'm good. I'm just gonna pass.
I don't like that you can't manage a page without a personal Facebook page.
Yeah, I think that's bullshit too. Like if I could not have the personal Facebook page and just do all my brands and stuff and the podcasts, that'd be great.
Yeah. My wife tried to get rid of it, but she couldn't do the animal stuff without it. And I'm like, well, I can't get rid of it because no one's going to do our band shit then. And, these fucking gold records aren't going to write and produce themselves.
Right. I mean, yeah. If you want to be wearing gold-plated diapers.
Wait, you're not supposed to know that I poop myself.
You send me literally a text every day at 6 p.m. saying, hey, Mike, I did it again. Whoopsies. Like, I don't understand how I'm not supposed to know. I guess maybe I didn't understand the nature of the relationship with the pooping the pants thing.
Send Mike Beech a text at 6 p.m. tomorrow about pooping pants.
No, yes.
I did it again. Whoopsies.
Oh, damn it.
It's daily.
I think it may have actually already sent that.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted a reminder to text you tomorrow at 6 p.m. to tell you that I shit my pants.
I have my phone on. Let's see if it buzzes.
No, it looks like it didn't send. Beatmaster said that we should get a diaper sponsor. Funny thing, my wife works for a company that makes Depends. So if she's going to listen to this one, please hook up the Depends sponsor.
Yeah, shit. I mean, I'll take any kind of sponsor. That's fine.
I'm trying to get a beer sponsor for this.
Be good, man.
Well,
you drinking right now?
Yeah, I made
drinking right now.
Yeah, I made some friends at Drecker Brewing in Fargo, North Dakota.
Nice.
And all their cans are super fucking metal. So this beer's called Thor is my co-pilot.
I love it.
Thor is my co-pilot. That's good.
This is numbered. I actually had one.
How do they not have one called Ragna Hops?
Shit. I have another one that's something similar, but I'm gonna tell them right now. I had a beer called Leather first, and I was gonna make a comment about being a leather daddy.
Nice.
Their IPA is called Ectogasm, and their double is called Multiple Ectogasms.
Yeah, because there's more than one.
Yeah. Shut up, dick. Jack, what was your idea? Ragna hops.
Yeah.
All right.
Quality podcasting here. I'm just giving you just the worst puns.
Or they could do just call it Ragnarok, but make it like a copy of the Rolling Rock style label.
There might be a cease and desist involved there.
Yeah, but I mean, you'll get a few case equivalents out before that's a problem.
That's a really good point. There's a a brewery in Pennsylvania, I think, called The Answer. They did like a full line of glassware that's all like Nintendo stuff. So, and the shit sells for a mint. I have a glass set. And it's the two guys from Double Dragon doing like the jump kicks, and they're kicking the Bobos or whatever their names were.
Yeah.
But instead of their big ass head, it's a big hop. Yeah. And then there's one of Link, and instead of holding a Triforce, he's holding a hop.
Nice.
The one that I really want is Mike Tyson's Punch Out. You can get Glass Joe or Mike Tyson, and instead of spit, it's hops coming out of their mouth. But the cheapest I've seen them is like $80 a glass.
I imagine those are only going to get more pricey.
Which is so stupid. It's like just something to drink your beer out of.
But it's a collector's item, man.
It really is.
It's like Beanie Babies. It's only going to go up in value.
I almost started looking up Beanie Baby prices because I think I might still have some.
Nice. They've reemerged as Beanie Boos now. This is the thing. All the little kids are into Beanie Boos now. They're these like little stuffy things that are like this big, but they have big giant eyes. And the same company as Ty, man. It's the same company. Yeah, frightening, right?
Yeah. Do you know what probably happened is someone had a Beanie Baby and did too much acid, and then this is where a Beanie Boo came from.
I think we should do it like this, man. They need to see into you. Okay, all right, Winston, fucking calm down.
I'm looking at this big ass unicorn that's a bunch of colors, and its eyes are just all fucking big.
Yeah, it's fucking anime as shit too.
Yeah. Well, anime is like the hotness right now, I think.
I'd imagine it is.
These things aren't that expensive.
Big guys are in right now. Did you see the trailer for that for the new Robert Rodriguez film?
Mm-mm.
Alita Battle Angel and James.
Oh yeah, I did see that, and she's like a robot, right? And she's got like big giant eyes. Yeah.
Well, and they're trying to make her look mostly human except for the eyes. So it's like a live action. Yeah, so it's weird. It's weird. I don't know. I'll give the movie a shot. I might get really into it, or I could see it just taking me out the whole time because it's so fucking weird.
Did you see they're making another Robin Hood?
What?
With Jamie Foxx?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Is Jamie Foxx playing Robin Hood?
No, Jamie. Let's see here.
Is he playing as the Moore?
The Morgan Freeman character, the Dave Chappelle from Men in Tights.
2018. It doesn't have a. Jamie Foxx is Little John.
Oh.
So keep in mind, once again, trailer before Halloween. We watched the entire fucking trailer, and I just thought it was a thief movie. And at the end, he said, like, you're no longer Robin Men, you're Robin Hood.
Oh, boy.
And
that's rough.
Yeah. There's just too many Robin Hood movies. There was one that cost like $200 million that was out like a few years ago with
Russell Crowe, right?
Russell Crowe, yeah. Who's going to remember that movie?
Yeah, I remember.
I forgot it existed until right now
because it was terrible. Is why I remember it. I remember being so bad. Is why it stuck out.
There should be one per generation, like one every 20 years. Every generation gets their Robin Hood.
Yeah, like I feel like I grew up in a blessed time because we had Kevin Costner as Robin Hood. Just, I mean, what a masterpiece, right? But then in that same era, we got Robin Hood Men in Tights with Carrie Elwes, who in my mind, I'm sorry, Carrie Elwes is my Robin Hood.
He's the who was the guy who played Robin Hood in the 30s? Errol Flynn.
Errol Flynn. He's the modern day Errol Flynn. Carrie Elwes. Like that's my Robin Hood. I'm sorry. That's if there's a hill to die on, that's mine right there.
It always blew my mind that he came back and was in Saw, and was very good in Saw.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my god, I forgot that.
Yeah,
he's a good actor, man.
I like him a lot. He
was the stepdad in Liar Liar. He played just an American doofus. Yeah,
fuck, I forgot about that.
I mean, obviously Princess Bride, which we're about to show to our 9-year-old. We're about to introduce him.
Oh, nice.
Why did you wait so long?
No, that's a good age.
I don't know, man. There is a curse word and some themes in it, but he gets it. Like he's fine now.
I obviously do not have children, and I'm still pretty much a child myself. So I wasn't questioning your parenting. I was just curious.
No, but we've talked about it since he was like 7 or 8 years old. But like it's one of those things. Like all of a sudden 2 years happened. But we're starting to put together this sort of like list of like movies from our generation that they need to see.
Nice.
And we're starting to get into that, and that's one of them. I think the Back to the Future trilogy is a really important one. I think that's
you can stop after 2.
Yeah, it's true. You really could. Honestly, you get the idea.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, like Princess Bride is obviously on there. Here's what I'd be interested in. Let's make it topical. What horror movies should, from our generation, which I assume we're all in the same neighborhood. Like,
Yeah.
what should be on that list to show to your kids as they get almost to handle the intensity of it?
Okay, so my first question was going to be: is what age are you planning on doing this? Like, does it need to be age appropriate, or we
Let's say 10. Round number, 10 years old.
Oh.
See, I'm biased because I grew up. God bless my parents. They did a lot of good stuff, but
Vito Picone was busy traveling the world, right?
We watched everything. I was completely desensitized. Like R-rated, I had R-rated movies for my diet at the age of 5.
Yeah.
So it's tough. I don't recommend doing that. I came out fine, but still.
But that was a different time, man. I watched a lot of R-rated movies when I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
Like with parents and stuff. Like I watched the fucking Last Boy Scout when I was like 11. Like, think about that. That explains a lot. But so yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna go with the original Halloween. It's simple.
Yeah.
It's simple enough where you can follow the plot. You know what you kind of get what's going on, and you can. It's more of a tone film. It's more about mood and setting and tension. I think that might be better than all in your face, intense Suspiria kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think I would actually not put Friday the 13th on that list because the first one was kind of like weird and esoteric, and
the first one's not good. Like I often forget that the first one exists and just go straight to 2 where Jason started killing.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point because it's not like it's a completely different movie. Like it's almost like it's like a prequel that just happened in the right order.
Yes. Yeah.
But I don't think a kid would get into that or get like there's no hook for like a younger mind in that movie.
I would say Nightmare on Elm Street, but then I really think your kid's gonna have a problem sleeping.
No, I say yes. I say yes to Nightmare on Elm Street. I think that's part of the.
I think it's a great movie, but I think at age 10, the fact that getting in his brain that like, well, I go to sleep and this guy shows up, but it being 30, almost 40 years after.
Not gonna look real convincing.
Came out exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if I ever told you the story, but when I first saw the first Hellraiser, it scared me so fucking badly that I buried the VHS tape at the bottom of the garbage can, and it wasn't even my movie.
I'm trying to think of movies I really responded to when I was 10. I'm going to throw this out there. Just brainstorming here. The original Night of the Living Dead.
Huh. You know what? I would say yes because I think it's just cheesy enough.
Exactly, and it's coming from a time where it was pretty racy for 1968.
Yeah, no, that's a good call.
Now, but it's still racy for a 10-year-old. It's just enough.
Yeah, I'm into that pick actually. I like that because like it introduces you to the idea of zombies, and not a lot of that lore and that fiction has changed because a lot of kids when they're 10, 11 years old are going to be used to the zombie fiction, like that universe and how the mechanics of that universe work. And this introduces those, so it'll be familiar, but it'll also be like, that's clearly a fucking fat dude with a makeup thing on his face. Like that's not like, this isn't like no, I'm totally into that pick. I think
you work your way up. Then when they're a little older, 13, 14, maybe 28 days later.
Yeah, that one I'd say later, like teenage years, 28 days later, because that's the intensity level of
Don't forget the prequel, 28 Days, starring Sandra Bullock.
Didn't somebody do a mashup of that or did something like that on YouTube where they created they created like a mood and music around like 28 Days or something like that and made it look like the prequel? I'd have to look that up because I remember the internet's done everything. I get it, but God, I'm trying to remember what else.
This is an odd generation, but the new It might be a good movie for a 10-year-old because they're 10.
The original It, too.
The original It might not be bad, though.
I like the original It a lot.
I think I saw that around that age.
Yeah, it's so corny.
Yeah, my mom was a huge Stephen King fan, still is. So I grew up like Tommyknockers, It, Langoliers. Yep. I didn't see The Stand till I was older, but that's probably because it's 6 hours long.
The Stand was what coming in, and then Tommyknockers, Langoliers.
Yeah.
The Steven Weber version of The Shining. What if we did one of the greatest movies of all time, but again with the guy from Wings?
I never saw it, and I'm not sorry.
Basically, it's because it was directed by Mick Garris, who's a friend of Stephen King. He did The Stand. He did Sometimes They Come Back, I think. But anyway, Stephen King notoriously hates The Shining because Kubrick changed the script so much. So he was like, I want to do another Shining. I'm going to produce it. I want my guy directing it, and it's going to be very faithful to the book. So that's all it is. It's just it's a more faithful version. It's not as good. The Shining's a fucking Shining might be good for your 10-year-old.
Yeah.
A little much. It's
maybe, but again, like you got to remember, like the total gore imagery in that movie is not bad. It's just the psychological part of it.
The dated
the weird naked old lady in the tub. There's
that.
Still, it's only for.
Well, my kids are used to that. That's fine.
How many weird naked old ladies do you have over in a tub? Maybe you shouldn't answer that.
Like currently? Or do you want like an average? You want
I got
mean
7
over time?
naked ladies in the tub right now.
I mean, we're between 1 and 6. That's all I want to give you. There's identities because if people hear this, they'll figure when it was recorded and then they'll know who was where. Like I can't give you specifics on that.
All right.
Obviously, I think you need to show every 10-year-old kid Event Horizon. I think that's
that's right up their alley.
You know what's really fucked up? I've never seen it.
Really?
And I've never seen it because someone who is currently on this podcast said they wanted to do it 2+ years ago when I first met them.
I wanted to do it?
Yeah, you and Dan wanted to do it, and we've just never done it.
Dude, we got to fucking do that one. I would come back for Event Horizon, man. That's a good movie.
All right, can we kick Dan out and replace Dan with Beech and do Event Horizon next time we get together?
I think you should kick me out and have Dan do it. I think he's the one that really digs it.
But Dan's decided to have a fuck trophy and is too busy for us.
Ooh.
I mean, he's got podcasting.
Well, Beech's kids are older too.
Yeah,
that's true.
His kids existed before I knew Beech. Dan,
we could just put my kids on the podcast to do the Event Horizon one.
Sure. Yeah, make them watch it.
I like when his tongue shot through the guy's head. Like, you know. Thanks, honey.
Mike, I got a question for you. Once your kid, especially your oldest, when they get a little bit older, would you ever consider exploiting their cuteness? And I'm assuming you're raising them, and they're probably pretty well-rounded, smart kids like you are. So, like, would you consider being one of those parents that's like, here's my kid's reaction to seeing The Shining, and it could actually be really interesting content.
Awesome.
But you also have to ask yourself, is this good for the kid? I don't know.
No, that's a valid question. In general, I would say I'm middle of the road on that kind of stuff. I'm not a hardliner either way. In general, my approach is I try not to put them in front of the camera in any sort of. And I know what you're meaning when you say exploiting. I know you're not saying it in a negative way, just like using. Okay. Like I don't like to put them in front of a camera or microphone to exploit the fact that they're kids and oh my god, it's so weird and different that they're kids. Like I like their personalities to show.
Okay, yeah.
I like them if they want to be on camera or microphone, which the older two sometimes do. I want them. It's because they're like a person. So, I'm just treating them like a smaller person.
It's not a gimmick. It's not a gimmick. It's
not a gimmick. That's a good way to put it. That's a better way to put it. Yeah. Like I don't like using them as a gimmick because that makes me feel cheap. That would make me feel dirty. Like I don't, I respect my kids. I like my kids. So I wouldn't want to do that to them because they've got to live with that too. That's going to be on the internet and that could be around forever. They got to live with that and they got to be happy with it. So I'd rather them be themselves. But
that's a good take.
I would say this though, my son, like, he's 9 and he's talking about like wanting to do like a game streaming channel and stuff like that because the poor kid, I feel bad. Like we're like these old school annoying parents that are like, they only play video games on the weekend and like, they don't have that much exposure. I don't feel there is either. Like I know I get there's going to be friction with him as he gets older and his friends. He's got friends who can play all the time. But they wanted
our singer's son. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but our singer's son is 15, so he's at that age.
Yeah.
So I see, and I hear stuff from Nate all the time about how like his son reacts to certain situations and like his grades slipped, so he took shit away, and the kid, he was a very 15-year-old boy about it, but. So, and he's the same way. He says like, once you do very little I ask of you, you can fucking play video games all you want. Just do what you're asked first. And so I as someone without a parent, or someone without children, this probably has no weight in your world. But I think what you're doing is great. And someday he will understand and
it seems like
respect
common sense, right? It just feels like common sense. Like, and I've seen the consequences of kids that are allowed to play whenever they want to.
Yeah.
I've been alive long enough to know those kids as adults, and I see them now when, I know their parents and all that kind of stuff. And it's just not for me, man. But he and his buddies, they talk about they want to do like a YouTube streaming channel. They want to like stream themselves playing Fortnite like every fucking 9-year-old on the planet wants to right now.
And Jack with Player Unknown.
Oh God. And so I encourage that. I don't, but I drag it out, like, because I'm not like saying like, okay, let me set up the camera for you and get your Twitch channel. It's like, you figure out how you're going to do it. Like, you tell me, come every day and come with a new, because I know it's probably a flight of fancy that they're not going to follow through on. I get it. But if I also am accepting the fact, because I live in this weird world now at almost 40 years old, where like I'm literally talking on the internet to talk about brands that I own in the hopes that other people will do it. Like, I know this is the new reality. So there's a potential that the kids could make money this way, or they could make a name this way. They could do it.
Do you have hate shorts on too?
Yeah. I'm kitted out, man. Like,
I made sure not to wear one of your shirts, assuming you'd have one on. I just didn't realize. Do you have socks on too?
No, I don't.
All right.
Sorry, man.
No. But
one sock.
Back on topic. I also don't think your son understands how terrible the internet is of a place.
No.
By knowing that you put yourself out there, that people can say whatever they want. And I don't know how much hate you and Matt, for lack of a better term,
I get you.
I don't know how shitty people have been to you guys. I feel like
refreshingly little. Little.
And granted, we have a much smaller fan base than you, but we've still had people say some pretty mean and like rough shit to us. And it's like,
right.
Dude, all we're doing is
we're being 9.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a good thing to keep him away from for now.
Yeah, I totally agree. But more to Jack's point about, letting him do that. It's like, I'm going to encourage it and be like, okay, here's the realistic steps. Here's the kind of camera you need. Here's the kind of microphones you need. Here's the setup. Learn how to set the account up. Learn how to do that. Show me all that stuff. And then we're going to get down the road. We're probably going to be at least a couple of years later. And maybe we'll understand some stuff, whether I can say yes or no. But I don't want to just shut off and say like, no, that's all evil. The internet's shitty. It's full of terrible people. Like, it is evil and full of terrible people, but it's also the new reality that we're living in. Yeah. So I don't want them to be hamstrung from that. But I do. There, a lot can be solved by acquiescing with kids, and instead of making it a yes or no, turn it into an information gathering and turn it into a learning experience with a kid. Like, it, especially when it's anything to do with media. Instead, like, have them start asking questions and ask them questions instead of be like, instead of just saying like, why would you want to go on Twitch and stream a video game? Ask like, why do you want to do that? What do you think's going to happen? And then that starts a conversation. And lo and behold, you're fucking talking to your kids, which is what you're supposed to be doing.
That's great. No, that's a great That's a great answer.
Yeah. So I don't always see it as exploitative, but obviously we know there are people out there that are doing that. So.
Yeah. No, that's
I completely forgot how you got to that point, and then you brought it full circle. Wow.
Well, I am a podcast host. I have to do that stuff.
That's a really good point. I just drank.
Speaking of podcasts, I got some good news. I found out today.
You're having a baby?
No,
Congrats, Jack! Oh, man, what do you do?
Well, actually, considering the people I've been sleeping with lately, hopefully not.
Jesus Christ! I love your life so much, but that's because I live in rural Wisconsin.
But anyway, no, The Guardian, the British newspaper, just did a roundup of podcasts to check out, and we got name checked.
I was really hoping that you were going to say you were actually going to start putting fucking episodes out again. I don't give a shit if some British newspaper likes you.
That's one of the big ones in UK. I can't remember which one are the like legit journalism and which ones just show nudes of the royals, but I think it's one of the good ones.
Well, that's good though. I mean,
that's cool, man.
Man, I should put up more episodes.
If it gets me 10 more listeners, I'll be happy.
Nah, don't do more episodes. That'd be dumb.
Why
capitalize on a new audience? Yeah.
I was going to edit because we have 4 episodes in the bank.
Nice.
I told Dan I don't want to release them until we have at least a few more. That way we can just have a nice couple of months, Game of Thrones style. But I was going to edit them today, and something came up, and
going back to the consistency of release, the best thing I found, and I stole this from Jack and Dan, like 90% of everything else I've done on the show. I take the summers off. Like I forced Corey to take the summer off just because it got to a point where I started to feel like I was structuring my weeks around our podcast and like having to be home at that certain time or whatever. Or like I feel like, whatever I need to do is,
Yeah, no, it's I think it's a different strokes for different folks. The weekly schedule was too tough for me and Dan on top of the full-time jobs, on top of him having a kid, and if I had a more laid back life, then I would or sometimes it depends on the show. I think certain formats work better in certain ways. I think the formats me and Dan have work fine with the season.
Yeah, it got easier when we removed news from the structure, and it's like we no longer have to be timely. Every episode is timeless. We can put them out whenever in whatever order, as long as it's a new movie or a new horror topic. It doesn't fucking matter. And that took a lot of stress out of it because I felt less of a need to like find news as current as I possibly could.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's there's just so many factors and you find what works best. But for right now, this is working best for us, even though.
Well, and I know you and I have had discussions about how you guys don't have the numbers you once had, but I think you, like us, we're established enough that those who are going to come back are going to consistently come back regardless of how long of a break you take.
That, but I mean, I'm sure we get some coming back no matter what. But it's still, and it's also, it's a when you're this small, when you have this small of a fan base, I feel like your relationship with your listeners is different than when you're bigger. I think it is a little bit more two-way, and even though we're giving them a ton of free content, unless they're supporting us in other ways. We do still owe something on top of that for their loyalty.
Right.
We shouldn't be jerking them around. And I try very hard to, I feel bad that when we don't have new content, but I try to make.
I'm reminded every month when I see your Patreon money leave.
Yeah, but the last thing I want to do is be snide about it and be like, leave me. Some people would give George R.R. Martin shit for not having a new Thrones book out. Yeah, I get it. I really try to make it not an issue of respect with my listeners. I would never be like, it'll come when it comes. Leave me alone. Like I think that's a horrible attitude, especially when you're more in touch with your fan base because you're smaller, it's a little more intimate. At least that's why I try.
Well, it kind of falls back on that idea. Like, if all these people were sitting in a room, would you talk to them that way? Like if they showed up to a the same spot in a studio every few weeks to listen to you, if you're like, hey man, I ran out of ideas, don't fucking bother me. Would you say that to them? Right, exactly. Like, no, you would have a normal human relationship. Be like, look, man, it's just that things are coming together, but we appreciate you. Like, yeah.
Right. There's and I'm totally gonna call him out because he was messaging me earlier. We got him from you, Mason.
Oh yeah, Mason. Sutherland Distilling.
What was that?
Yeah, Mason, the distiller.
Right? Yeah. Okay, sorry, I didn't hear what you said at the end. Not that you were shit talking.
Wait, Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller, Mason. Ben Stiller.
So he's also Ben Stiller in addition to being the person he is.
So he likes to ask me about movies that we've watched, and I know full well that he knows that we haven't. And I'm like, I don't know, man, I gotta look. And he's like, well, I wouldn't call you out on it if you didn't. And I'm like, yeah, but I've explained to you a bunch of times that it's like I leave a lot of, like, next week we're doing The Shining. And I made sure we didn't do The Shining knowing that at some point we would have a guest who wanted to do The Shining.
Sure.
So there are so many iconic and huge horror movies that I have to ignore knowing that at some point someone's going to want to watch it. So
that's smart though.
But so we were talking about Silent Hill, and it's like, I love the movie Silent Hill. I would want to talk about it, but eventually there might be someone who really wants to talk about Silent Hill. So I kind of need to leave it.
Because most people aren't in as deep as you are.
No. Like, I'm black tar heroin, and a lot of people are like, I'll have some shitty marijuana on the weekends.
So whose idea was it to watch Halloween H20?
Erica.
You said, oh, that's right, it was hers, and then she bitched on us. That's right. So I watched it today.
So
talk about getting it under the wire. I watched it today, and it was a super digestible movie, man. Like, it's
pretty
not
bad.
Yeah. Well, okay.
I like how you like started to talk about this because you probably have like kids and stuff to take care of tonight.
I had the screen up and I was thinking about it. Now I disagree. I don't think it was that bad because
now, I do want to remind you, I saw the new Halloween last night. I watched H2O today.
Okay. Yeah. So the new one was the new one pretty good?
I want to see it again. I do not want to see it in the theater again. I have some gripes.
Yeah.
But overall, like, I didn't dislike it.
Okay.
The one thing I'll say, which will not spoil anything, is there's some forced comedy that I really wish they would have done without.
Okay. That tends to be a theme. Like either it's done well or it sticks out like a sore thumb in any kind of movie. That's a lot of people's gripe with the new Star Wars too. Is like, among other things, one of the big gripes is like, just stop. Every note doesn't have to end on a joke.
Yep.
Like it doesn't have to every time. Like it's just cheap thrills. So okay, I did not think it was that bad. Now the reason that I say that is I really was looking at this in context. I guess like I tend to try to do that. And then maybe that goes back to like the kind of research that I do for podcasting too. It's like I looked at this like this is a Halloween movie that was happening in the time that Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer were killing. They were killing in this time period. So I think you got a lot of borrowed moves. I think they borrowed a lot of moves. I think they borrowed a lot of looks. I think they borrowed a lot of feel from those movies. Like the movie was small and like even though it has this big history and everything like that, it's really like very, very focused on a small number of characters. Like it's if you notice, like it's like what do you have? Like and you have Carrie and you have her son. You have the love interest, the guy from the school, you have LL Cool J, and then you have the son's girlfriend, like a couple of other tertiary kills or whatever that happen.
Yeah.
But like really, it's super small. Like, and it happens in a geographically really small spot. Like it's like they play small ball with the movie, which I think Scream did really, really well. Like they just like, here's your tiny cast. Here's the people that matter. Let's go. Let's get things introduced. So I thought they did that really well. And I thought maybe just what I liked about it. And you got to remember, I'm carrying around a phone watching this, but I thought the pace was pretty good. And I thought that I think the thing that I liked the best is that while not being like groundbreaking in any way, shape or form, I think I'll agree on that. Nothing was groundbreaking about this movie. It wasn't like it's particularly subversive where it didn't like subvert your expectations, but it was efficient in a not bad way. It was efficient in that like, we finally get to like this coda, whatever you want to call it, of like this PTSD that she's going through, that Carrie's going through in this, or Lori, she goes by Lori in this. I don't remember like which one is which. She's had a pseudonym. Yeah. So, but it's like she goes through this and finally you get to this like crescendo moment where she's like able to be with her new lover and tell her real story and talk about her trauma and everything like that. And then right then we start the action. Right there we go. Like, it's not like she does this big reveal and then it drags and it builds back into Michael's chasing her. It's like, hey, here's the shit that's going on with me and why I'm all fucked up. And then boom, here he comes.
It's a super quick moving movie, which I really do appreciate.
Yeah, I liked that part of it because I don't feel like the story needed to be retold. So I guess I liked it, but I'm not going to call it high art. There's nothing. Maybe it's just a different definition of what's good. But like, if I'm going to that movie theater to watch a slasher flick, I think it hits all the notes properly and does it super efficiently. I think it does it well.
Yeah. It's even the settings are similar to Screams, like the forest kind of rural,
and there's a school, like a university school or whatever, or
middle class teens, and I think it's also a very 90s movie. It's very of its time, not just because Scream pretty much changed horror for 5-10 years, or at least the slasher films, but it has that late 90s vibe where if you watch movies from 94, 95 on. They were becoming much more modern. Digital editing was taking over, and there was the films were cut a little bit quicker, and everything was a little sharper. Color correction was coming in. There was some basic post-Jurassic Park CGI, and they kind of got more self-serious. And up until The Matrix, and then The Matrix obviously blew everything away, and now is a $200 million movie. But from like 94 to The Matrix, you have these bigger budgeted movies that didn't quite exist in the 80s. Like Con Air, Con Air to Airport, which was, those two movies are closer together in time than Con Air is to now. But modern sensibilities are still more 98 than 98 was to 78. So I think even if you look at Jamie Lee Curtis, she looks like a 40-year-old woman in the 90s. She looks like
she looks very matronly.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just, I don't know. It's almost like the Alien Resurrection of the genre. Alien Resurrection, same thing. It was a very well done, well executed movie, but there's like a ceiling there because it never, like you said, it doesn't quite go to high art. It's just functional Hollywood 90s. Everything was kind of more action based back then.
That's true.
Your political thrillers were more action based. It was a weird time it was an interesting. Basically the Matrix and then the superhero movies kind of changed blockbuster filmmaking. But back then, for that time period, that was when you had R-rated movies like Lethal Weapon 4 and Die Hard with a Vengeance at the top of the box office. Now it's all PG-13 franchise. Well, I mean, those are franchises too, but those were adult movies. Sure. Those were adult movies you're taking your kids to. Now it's your kids are dragging the parents. Come on, we gotta go see Avengers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Matt, we've spoken our first piece there. What was your beef with it?
I think it was cheesy looking, but it's cheesy looking now, not necessarily cheesy looking in 1998.
Because our sensibilities have gotten more modern.
So
yeah, but I will also just interject, and I'll give you that the violence was not particularly compelling or shocking. Like it was a little cheesy. The kills and the violence were a little cheeseball.
So they
were.
Well, you guys were talking because the first thing I noticed was that there were eyebrows on the mask. So I had to go and look, and I didn't realize that there were eyebrows on the mask in some fashion for the majority of the movies. I think only one was the only one that didn't have it. Huh. Which I thought stood out.
At least it wasn't a unibrow. That could have been
true. Yeah, they kept him plucked.
That's in now, but
read Michael Myers.
Yeah. Some of the acting was stupid. I didn't care for like the love portion, the love aspect of Laurie Strode and the teacher. Like
he bites it, right? It's been a while since I've seen it.
Yeah.
Right.
And probably the best death, I'd say he had, because it had the most like visceral value to it. Yeah, like he gets stabbed and lifted up, and the feet do the little salmon shake.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that was the for shock, not shock value, but I don't know, pound for pound best kill in the film. I think.
I think you needed that romance in the movie to really made it all like, God, she can't catch a fucking break. Her boyfriend's dead. Now she's got to protect her son at all costs.
Yeah, and then they did a little instant movie karma because he just thought he'd killed LL Cool J.
Yeah. By the way, LL Cool J, this is one of at least 4 or 5 movies where he gets hurt but survives. He's always getting shot or stabbed.
He gets it in his contract. He will not be the token black dead guy.
What is it? The Toys, he gets shot with Robin Williams.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
He gets dragged around by the shark and he still lives.
That's right.
There's a Rennie Harlan movie called Mindhunters where it's another. Everybody gets picked off one by one, and he gets picked off. But then after the final girl saves the day, he shows up. He's like, it's good. It's just my flesh wound.
Well, there were 2 funny, really, really funny parts, in my opinion, with LL Cool J. Is when he's kind of first introduced and he's reading his sex novel to his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm, that was good.
And he refers to a woman's cans as melons. Her voluptuous melons.
Which obviously we all know they're called cans.
Well, I know. I was like, I had to not say melons when,
please make a Podcast of Terror t-shirt that just says, the cans are the melons.
What was, Eric actually had a shirt idea, and it was something about, I don't know, something dumb I said. But,
great story, Matt.
Jack, did you see that and Beach, I think you already saw us because we both follow him on Instagram, but the Black Beast has a shirt that says, my nuts was hot.
Oh, yes. Yeah. My balls was hot.
My balls was hot. That's what it was. Yeah.
Capitalize on that.
Yes.
Yeah. There was some picture of him eating Parmesan chips wearing my balls was hot shirt.
So
I see.
good.
If I had money and I was a real producer and I could, I was making some movies and some TV shows, I would go out of my way to sign that guy to a contract, get him supporting in a couple of movies. Like, who was the guy that replaced Mr. T in the A-Team reboot?
Tiny, what's his name? He went by Zeus in the movie, but his name is like Tiny Zeus, Tiny something. Like
Tiny Lester. That's like Tiny Lester was Zeus in No Holds Barred.
Oh, is that okay?
He's a good example too. But
Wait.
Like, I'm not saying Beast could carry a movie, but he could be a great second, third lead.
No, yeah,
You're talking
for
about
sure.
the 2010 A-Team?
Yeah, Bradley Cooper, Liam Neeson.
Yeah, that was Quentin Jackson.
Oh,
Okay.
that was Rampage. Okay.
Yeah, Rampage, yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
what I'm
I
saying.
just jumped the gun.
No, that's fine. I wanted to make sure we were talking about the same movie before I corrected anyone.
But I could see him in a role like that, or I could see him in a Tiny Lester
Fuck yeah, I
role.
could read him. So I could
Like
see
Tiny
him.
Lester plays the president in Fifth Element. I'd love
I
to
remember that.
see the president.
So, yeah, I guess I see what you're saying, Matt. Like it's.
I also
know,
I thought I forgot Josh Hartnett was in this movie, and this is apparently the second
Oh,
movie
God,
he's starred in, but he's so fucking terrible of an actor.
He's bad.
Yeah.
He is 100% bad. And like he's just one of those people. Like I don't think he makes movies anymore, and I don't think anybody minds. Like he had this like heartthrob moment in the 90s.
So he does. I didn't realize he's almost 40. He has a dirty mustache, and he looks like he might be homeless.
H20. Remember, H2O was 20 years ago. We're up to
Yeah.
H4O.
And that's another thing that I thought was kind of interesting is like the new Halloween they talk about because it's 40 years.
Yeah.
It should be
I can't wait for
H40.
H60. I can't wait for the one in 20 years where
H60.
yeah, where Jamie Lee Curtis is fighting him in the retirement home. Stealing away.
Awesome.
I'll tell you what, man.
So,
They're going downhill.
She doesn't look bad.
Nah, she's
no, she doesn't. She takes very care of herself, man.
I'd really enjoy her in
so-
True Lies.
Oh yeah.
If everybody, yeah, obviously.
I think that was
Pseudo,
before they had the don't ask, don't tell policy in the army. I think they just used that as a test. They played that movie.
Do it, do some more.
All right, so yeah, the love interest between Jamie Lee Curtis' character and the other the
Adam
school
Arkin.
guy, whatever. Yeah, Adam Arkin. I didn't mind that. I think and this could just be that I'm not as familiar with like slasher movie tropes, but like I honestly feel like the entire character arc of the son and his girlfriend was kind of a throwaway. And you could almost make the case now, like when I say it out loud, that the entire arc of her son being 17 and sassy and not liking her is a throwaway.
Yeah.
It almost didn't matter at all.
It was
And
like cliche.
yeah, and like the adding of Michelle Williams as she's the daughter of a beach boy, isn't she? I don't know why I thought that just now. I think she
I'm
is.
looking.
But she, the addition of her and the love interest thing, it just created all of that got us like maybe 3 minutes of screen chase time for another chase between that and the final act. And I felt like that was like a total waste. It didn't distract enough. But again, like the whole movie's so economical. The whole movie is paced so fast and so economically that it's like, I can't get that mad about it. I didn't get that invested in them.
Waste that much of your time.
Yeah, and it's like if I'd have really gotten an attachment to these characters and then they got taken out in a disappointing way, I'd be like, that sucks. But so, Matt, let me ask you though, since you're definitely more the aficionado, and part of this I think is studying the monsters or the villains. What did you think of the treatment of Michael in this movie? Like how he presented, like compared to other presentations of him that you've seen? What did they do right? What did they do wrong?
Besides the eyebrows.
I'm actually like trying to there was nothing that he specifically did that I was like, well, that's stupid. He tilted his head, and I thought that was kind of dumb because I think a lot of what they do with Michael Myers and they do this with Jason too is they kind of make him out to be like a dumb dog in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
And now once again, everything I think of, I'm like when you talked about Michelle Williams and I looked at her, I'm like, she wasn't in the movie, and then I had to remember that I was thinking of the new one, not the one I just watched.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Which I did it to myself. I really did it to myself. I'm not like blaming anyone.
I just published an article, by the way. I think it was on Friday, where I outlined the 5 timelines of Halloween to help people keep it all on track.
They point out specifically that Laurie is not his sister in the new one.
Yeah, so the new one is only a sequel to the original.
Yeah.
This one, H2O, is a sequel to the first 2.
No.
So Halloween 2 is canon.
Oh yeah, so it's Halloween 1 and 2, and then this.
movie,
So it
H2O,
gets rid of 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, so I have a whole article. The 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 is one timeline. 1, 2, this and Resurrection with Busta Rhymes is a second timeline, and then the third timeline is this and the new one. I mean, the new one and the original, and that's it. And then there's the Season of the Witch, and then there's the zombie reboots. So you got 5 timelines total. Laurie Strode, the character, has died twice, or maybe she dies a third time. Don't tell me. I haven't seen the new one.
Yeah, I'm not.
But
no.
she died in this universe. She dies in the direct sequel to H2O, and she died in Halloween 4 off camera in a car accident. So her character has died twice. The Doc Loomis has died twice.
Yep.
Huh.
It's funny how they just keep rebooting, but they decide when they reboot, like, all right, this time this movie will be canon.
It's almost as bad as Terminator at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of those technically are still in one umbrella timeline.
We're gonna make Halloween 7, which didn't see Michael Myers farted. Now he's got a baby.
God.
But it's cool because it's canon because he farted off screen.
I'd watch it.
I think the dumb dog thing is a cheap way for these filmmakers. Like, I'm sure there's better ways to do it where you have to have them emote a little bit, and you can't because there's no facial.
They don't do anything. Yeah. So
it's all posture, but you're right. The neck tilt is very like,
yeah, because I do that to my dogs. I'm like,
it really stuck out. It really stuck out. And I agree that I think it's a cheap move that it gets used a lot of times, because you want them to even for a moment relate to the monster, right? That's one of the tricks. That's one of the bag of tricks. You want them to relate to the monster, so it creates more conflict. But it just totally came out of nowhere. And I'm of the school of thought that in these kind of movies, and as more of a fan than like a student, obviously, but I think the act of killing or like whatever the monster's crime is where you can show their personality. It's weird, right? Like you think like that's what just makes them the bad guy. But I think like that's where you're getting the most up close and personal, and that's where you're getting the biggest change in pace. And that's the place where you get to see the humanity of the monster sometimes and how it takes life. And that's why like I think the good death that was done in this one was interesting, like, you know, because it was up close and personal, and it showed that like it really was, like you were saying, almost like a fuck you to Laurie. It was like I know this matters to you, so fuck you. Like, and you know, this is the one thing going right for you.
Hey,
and like
Jack. Sorry, Beech, I thought you were done.
Never.
Corey's in our chat, and he had
nice. Hi, Corey.
He had a great idea. After we do Gremlins 3, Gremlins in Nazi Germany in outer space, we do a Michael Myers and Terminator sequel where we cross over the universes. So
Mike Myers versus Terminator. I like it. So instead of doing Terminator versus RoboCop or Freddy versus Jason versus Myers, we're going to do Myers versus Terminator.
Yep.
Can we get Predator in there just for good measure?
Fuck it. Why not?
They could be trying to Michael Myers could be trying to save the Predator from Terminator.
Maybe we should do like a 6-episode series
of just all verses.
Yes.
I love it.
Or like movie sequels that no one asked for.
Or it could be it could be a bracket. We do like a Sweet 16 bracket of your favorite like superhero, and Twitter does it. And they do that. You do that, but it's a show. So instead of just getting voted out of the bracket, or you get killed.
Beat says that we include Elvira for some boobage, so she can host the battles.
The technical term is cans.
The cans, yeah. Her cans.
Melons.
Her melons, yes. Her sweet cans.
Sweet can. Sorry, I'm stubborn and get stuck on old thoughts. So Matt and Jack, with the treatment of Michael in this movie, am I wrong that he seems smaller in this movie? Like he seemed less physically imposing?
Yeah.
Okay, like I don't know if that was a choice or that's just the fucking whoever the dude was that was fucking doing it. I don't know. He says on the cast thing, it's Tom Cruise.
That's why he was so scrawny. And
that explains it.
Shorter than everyone.
They should have gotten Goose in the suit. It would have been a lot more believable.
He wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, but he did not seem very physically imposing as compared to times past, and I really thought that was kind of some of what was interesting about the character. I mean, maybe that's like they're trying to differentiate him from Jason, which I know is classically a problem in these movies, like because Jason's gotten fucking jacked in some of the movies. I'm sure you guys have dealt with that. Like some of them, like, well, Jason Takes Manhattan, he was just fucking yoked.
Well, that's the problem. At that point, it was Kane Hodder, and Kane Hodder is like a fucking 6'5" mountain of a man.
Yeah, right. Okay, so that makes sense. Like that's what they're dealing with, but. Like Michael Myers didn't have like a look like he never really had like the big traps and giant arms. He was just looked like a big dude that just got off work at work at a junkyard and like fucking coming to fuck you up. But yeah, he looked more slight in this one.
Yeah, and the mask is too shiny. It's too it's too clean. Especially maybe I'm just biased because I've been seeing the new movie, the advertisements everywhere. I love the mask in the new one. But it's just like when I remember watching the trailer, and it's I don't know. It looks too clean.
It was very much so. Like, and it was almost like featureless. I know it's supposed to be a featureless mask, but like in the original, which I'm more familiar with, I haven't seen the new one, obviously. Like, it just seemed like it had some kind of personality, even like how insane it was. Yeah. That it legitimately looks like that's what a psychopath would put on their face.
And that's a William Shatner mask, right?
Yeah. It was inside out, right? They turn like it's a Shatner mask inside out.
White, I think, but I just love the idea that there's some inherent feature of William Shatner's face that says psycho.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Damn it, Bill.
So the guy.
That's all I want in my career. If maybe I won't win an Oscar, maybe I won't ever get a real legit following. If somebody just makes a Halloween mask of my face, and then somebody else takes that and puts it on their face to kill people, job well done. I could die happy.
Jack, for $50, I'll wear a mask of your face and go kill people.
Okay, that's all I ask.
We'll do 25.
Holy shit. We got an auction here.
Everybody out there listening to this one, leave a review for Podcast of Terror with your offer.
All I ask is that you get my eyebrows right.
Nice.
I can't see them with your glasses on, but we'll make sure to get the teeth right, because I now remember that you're missing a bunch of teeth.
We don't have to telegraph that.
We could. Whatever you want to do.
and make sure I have more hair. Try to bring my receding hairline back. Let's just cheat it. You know what? Let's just make it a Tom Cruise mask and say it's me.
Fuck yes. Which also would be terrifying. So you wouldn't have to do shit to a Tom Cruise mask to make it terrifying to kill somebody in it.
That's a really good point. I didn't realize the guy who played Michael Myers in this movie was also a stunt double in Demolition Man, Armageddon, and the new Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Ooh, he gets around.
He's actually done a shit ton of stuff, going back to '88, which is he was in Maniac Cop 2.
Stuntmen have a pretty solid career. It's very consistent. They're stuntmen. It's nice when they get to be behind. It's usually these faceless or dialogueless roles, but it's great when they get roles like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys know who Tate Fletcher is. He's actor, stuntman, but he always advocates for this, and I'm a big fan of it as well. I think it's bullshit that there's no Oscar for stunt work.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
It's such a big part of this industry, and it makes a lot of what they do plausible and possible. It's amazing to me there's not an Oscar for that.
Yeah, that's a really great point, because it's just like visual effects or sound design or cinematography. It's one of those weird. It's a science and an art. You gotta do both. You gotta do the math, but you also have to have a little style. And the coordinators that come up with all right, we know we have to blow this car up at this point on this freeway, but the director just goes, all right, you do it, and they come up with something. That you're right. Like, I would give an Oscar to the guy that managed to do the bus jump in Speed. Like that. That's whoever designed that with blueprints and then got a team together and did it, and nobody got killed. Give an Oscar.
Yeah, absolutely. Because probably save money and lives, which is kind of what everybody's going for in Hollywood, right?
That's
also, it was everybody as excited about the Joseph Gordon-Levitt appearance in this movie as I was.
Fuck yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, he was there. He was in and out quick, like with a hockey skate through the face, which was cheesy as fuck.
Still pretty good though.
It was a
liked it.
creative at least, but it was like it was so heavily foreshadowed. It's like, hey, here's Hockey Kid. Oh, Hockey Kid's making hockey threats, and Hockey Kid's got a hockey stick. Hockey
I'm
Kid's dead
glad
with a
that you
hockey
pointed out
stick.
the hockey threats, because probably my favorite line in the entire movie was how he talked about how he's been suspended for 5 times because he's gotten a little too excited with the hockey stick.
Gotten a little loose with the stick.
Yes.
You got to remember, I saw this like 20 minutes before we started, so I've got it fresh in my mind.
Oh man, isn't it funny that both he's a pretty legit actor now. Michelle Williams is Oscar bait all the time. It's really funny how you see certain careers traject over 20 years.
It is crazy, man, and like it's easy to laugh at, like not laugh at, but like not take seriously how when people that work in the business and they get these little bit parts and you think, oh, that's great, but maybe they're not going anywhere. This could be it for them, but this, like, legitimate, it's how it goes, man. Like, just getting on set and being seen and getting lines, like, is the start of it for a lot of people. But that being said, for all those people that were saying that about, look at all the rest of the people down that list that we never heard shit from again in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's there's a lot of people that just, that's their role and that's what they get.
I was thinking about that just today because, oh God, what was I watching? I don't know. I was watching some 80s show. I wasn't watching it, but somehow I started thinking about Charles in Charge.
Who does? Yeah, it's Sunday, so yeah, we were thinking about Charles in Charge.
And like, so I'm just imagining like the kid who played the brother. Like he might be a working actor. I don't know what he's doing, but there's a good chance, and there's nothing wrong with this. He could be driving a forklift in like in a warehouse. Sure. And he's living a pretty standard life that most of us relate to, except he was, for every once in a while, you might catch him on TNT at like 3 p.m. As a 14-year-old. It's always weird.
And he gets a residual check for like 17.6 every month.
Exactly. That would be cool. He's living a pretty standard life, but with this cool asterisk. That's awesome. I mean, obviously you'd want the millionaire career, but
Jack, in that same vein, I do have some news for you, and this is a Podcast Terror exclusive. I've never revealed this on any sort of social media before, I don't think. I was on an episode of The People's Court as a child.
I thought you were pregnant. Damn it!
No, well, I'm pregnant. But
you have an
that's what
IMDb
the court case was about.
Were you a witness, plaintiff, defendant?
We were the plaintiff. So I'll set it up for you. My family and I moved to Los Angeles, California when I was younger. My dad got work out there in the construction industry, and there we got a moving company. I don't know if you remember the moving company Beacons. I'm pretty sure I can say their name now without getting in trouble. But yeah, so we moved out there, and we paid for like an all-inclusive, like, unpack our stuff for us package, because like we were in a hurry to get there. My dad was, had this new high-powered job and all this kind of shit. So they basically just like took all of our stuff and walked into the house and like dumped the boxes in the middle of the floor and broke a bunch of stuff. And like, we're just awful. So we made a claim against them, and we made a small claim against them for the damages. And that's what People's Court does. Like, they're in Los Angeles County or wherever the surrounding counties, and they like thumb through and look for ones that they can make a TV show out of. And they basically just pay it. And like, you're going to get paid no matter what, but you're going to come on and argue the case, is basically what the People's Court was. Yeah. And I was 9 years old at the time. They broke my toys. So they broke some of my He-Man toys.
Oh boy.
So, I went on there and pled my case. My segment where I talked about how they broke my toys did not make the final airing. No, just but a long close up of my stupid mopey kid face was there. But
Wapner? Up to Wapner?
It was Wapner. That's right. It was Judge Wapner and Rusty the bailiff. So we ended, and Doug Llewellyn we did an interview with him out in the little front hall of the studio in there. So we did end up winning. We won. It was obvious. I mean, we were the victors. And the best part, I save it for the last, the name, every case had a clever name. Mine, the Texas Moving Day Massacre.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Now you have your subtitle for this podcast episode. You're welcome.
I need to find this. Moving Day Mischief?
So,
good luck finding. I've looked on People's Court archives. I've looked everywhere. If you find it, you will be my hero. You're already my hero, but you'll be like, you'll take another hero slot off the list if you can do this, because I've looked for years to try to find this. Texas Moving Day Massacre. It would have been 1987-ish, 1987. I think it would have been. It's 87 or 88. So that's my deep dark secret that I had to share with you.
That's not really a deep dark secret. Like I would tell everyone that. Like,
Well,
yeah,
I just don't have a chance to.
It's organic.
No.
I'm sure.
Yeah, no. So what? Yeah, you mentioned like some people were on TV and they just live a normal life. I'm walking around with that, right? Jack, I'm walking around with that secret.
You just walk in places and cover your head because you don't want people to recognize you from your 1987 TV appearance.
That's the guy.
I hope they didn't see the Texas Moving Day Massacre episode.
But the weird thing is they call you AC Slater. Like, hey, AC Slater.
I do have that embroidered on all my shirts.
So should we rank this movie before Mike's got a jet?
I'm down.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know. Mike got to get going.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, eventually.
Yeah.
What do we do? We do how many chili peppers we rated? Is that what it is? Or
if
is
that's
it,
what you want to do, we normally just do 0 to 5, but we can do hot potatoes if you want.
Or yes, like number of hop plants, number of hops, hop cones.
Hop cones? Yeah.
I love it.
Hop buds, whatever.
Yeah, that's on topic. Yeah. Keeping it fucking topical over here is what I do.
That's why we like you. Yeah, I guess if you want to do 0 to 5 hop cones.
0 to 5 hop cones for Halloween. H2O. All right, let me shake it out here. Let me see. I really, really liked the pace of it a lot. Maybe because I'm a fan of easily digestible movies because I'm always kind of rushed. Like I was literally making dinner and getting screamed at by kids and stuff while I was watching. So I liked how easily digestible it was. There was some really bad acting, but Jamie Lee Curtis does her thing because she's like the only real actor in the entire fucking ensemble. So she does her thing like she does with these movies where she just makes it happen because the sheer force of will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was not a fan of Michael Myers, but I thought, I thought it was well paced enough to create some fun suspense. And I like that she chopped his fucking head off at the end. That had a nice, like, hey, there's no question kind of thing to it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like I enjoyed the anti cliffhanger there. Where it's like, he could come back if there's a burning fireball at the bottom. Like, nope, she chopped his fucking head off right at the end.
Although in canon, the direct sequel takes place right after, and it turns out that was just a guy, one of the medics from the ambulance, that he put a mask on and broke his back so he couldn't talk. So Jamie Lee Curtis decapitated an innocent guy, and she gets arrested and put in a sanitarium.
Oh, I see.
I've been meaning to watch Resurrection again, and you just fucking ruined it.
I watched the first 5
minutes. That's why he does the reaching out thing and seems so human in that moment.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, there's something there. But yeah, I still liked it. I like the quick brutality of it because it just showed she's ready for this moment. That was cool. I'm gonna go 3 hot chili pepper hop cones out of 5. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I agree. I think 3 is where this belongs. I mean, I have a soft spot for it just because of the time it came out, like 1998. It just, I was 15 years old. It was perfect movie for me. It seems less corny than Halloween 4, 5, and 6, but now it seems super corny compared to the new Halloween. I imagine, or just more modern sensibilities. It's Jamie Lee Curtis. She could read the phone book. I'm in. I don't like this as much as the Scream movies. I don't like it as much as The Faculty that was right around here with Josh Hartnett.
That's another movie I do want to watch again.
Never even heard of that movie.
That was Robert Rodriguez. That was his first, I think, English language. No, Desperado was English.
And Desperado was mostly English language. Let's be honest.
It was
broken English.
It was between Desperado and his Spy Kids face.
Okay.
So it's an interesting watch, but yeah, no, this is pretty middle of the road for me, but I still have a soft spot. 3 is fine.
Wow.
3 hop.
You were both very generous. I gave it 1.5 because it's
attaboy.
Even though it's a really digestible movie and easy to watch and easy to have on in the background, it's not that good.
You're not wrong.
No, there are just a plethora of other movies I would rather watch before I would watch this movie again. If someone's like, hey, I really want to watch a Halloween movie, which one's the best one? It's not H2O.
Not this one. Yeah,
No.
this might break the top 5, but there are 10 of them.
It's getting easier to get in that group.
I know. I was trying to think about it. I'm like, man, if I had to pick, like, if you've seen them all, which one would you rewatch?
2.
I would say either 2 or 4. Not
the
3.
Paul Rudd one.
One.
19-year-old Paul Rudd.
I mean, 1, but 1 is such an easy answer to give. Like, yeah, 1 obviously.
I know, but I'm an easy answer kind of guy.
No, it's a good point. But I mean, even like with Nightmare on Elm Street, it's like the first one's the best one, but I still prefer 4 through 5 or 4 through 6.
Hey, I'll watch. I'll watch
4
Rocky
was awesome.
4. Rocky 4 is
That's a whole other podcast. But yeah, 4 was awesome.
Yeah.
the most watchable of the Rocky films. But
Yeah, no, I give you that, Matt. It just didn't do anything that made me like. There was no like CNC Music Factory thing to it. It was like nothing made me go Like, there was nothing. There was nothing that like it challenged anything about it. Like and probably the only reason I brought up that ending where she like brutally chops the head off right there. I was like, that's the only thing that kind of challenged the expectations of the movie. That was it. And then if, cutting somebody's head off with an axe is like challenging the genre in a slasher movie, I don't know if it counts. Like it didn't challenge anything. It didn't push any envelopes, but I mean, it hit the notes. It was a pop song. You know what I mean? It was a pop song.
Yep.
That's what this was. It did what it was supposed to do. And it did the same shit that Like I Know What You Did Last Summer did.
Yep.
Same thing. It hit all the notes, got them done. Like I was entertained. I bought $12 licorice and fucking a soda. And then everybody's happy. Capitalism keeps working.
Except the guy who paid for it.
It's the Chipotle of the Mike Myers movies.
Chipotle of the Mike Myers saga. So many good subtitles for this podcast.
Should start using subtitles for the podcast, I guess.
You should. Yeah, you after the colon, podcast of terror, like Halloween H2O, colon.
I guess I got to stop putting people's names in the title that are on it.
Yeah, fuck those people.
Maybe season 4. Maybe we'll start doing that in season 4. Whatever. Maybe we'll do it next week.
Just make every episode a new season.
There you go. Like
Right.
Sherlock.
Right. So I guess that's going to wrap it up for season 139 of the Podcast of Terror.
Colon
Nice.
// All right. You can contact us by leaving us a voicemail at 805-328-3966. You can email the pot at gncast.com. Leave us a message on the website. I really miss Corey. He used to do this much better than me. You can follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, Podcast of Terror. Subscribe to the podcast via iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us feedback too. I'll read it if you ever do it. Go to bit.ly/pot review if you hate iTunes and want to leave a review. All subscription options and links can be found at gncast.com/subscribe. And you can follow the entire network under the Galactic Network on Facebook. If you want to give us money without actually giving us money, go to amazon.podcastterror.com. Shop like you normally would. We get a cut of the money. Costs you nothing. You get your 57 pounds of cashews in the mail. We get a percentage. Let's start with Beech. Beech, where can people find the Do Whatever your sweet, sweet clothing?
Luscious Melons at iTunes. You just look that up. No, you find me if you want to find the Do Whatever podcast, you can find it on iTunes. Just search Do Whatever podcast. That's the best way. If you want to find all the places to find all the episodes, just go to mikebeech.com. My name, BEECH, mikebeech.com. You can write a blog on there, and I can find all the stuff that I hawk, my book, all that kind of good stuff if you're into that kind of thing. But yeah, you can find all the podcast episodes there if you just like listening through a web player, but also all the links are there too. Find me on YouTube. Just search Mike Beech. You'll see a bunch of thumbnails of people doing stuff in kilts, and that'll be me. That'll be my thing there, because that'll be my feet. So yeah, but on social media, Beech with 9 E's in the middle. So because I'm that uncreative. But yeah, find all that stuff out, and then listen to the podcast. And I'd love to have you on board if you're listening to my podcast and Podcast of Terror. I don't know that you need to listen to any others, to be perfectly honest, because we're going to cover anything that needs to be covered.
Yep.
In these two, that's it.
And anything that might get missed on ours is probably picked up by Jack. So whenever Jack,
there you go.
What do you do?
No, I'm not offended because I haven't produced a goddamn episode in 6 months.
I can't be mad, literally.
I literally can't be mad. So follow me. I'm much more productive on Twitter by myself, at Jackie No Breaks, and Instagram at Jackie No Breaks. And you should follow my podcast. At some point, we'll release these new episodes. There's some good ones. We did a crossover with another show that I'm excited about. But that's at Worst Episode Pod. And then our network is at We Studios Pod. But right now we've been focusing. I miss my 90s show. I miss 90s Percentile. what my original vision for the show is very much in line with what Mike was saying about his show. I love those rabbit holes. I can't help it. I love going down them, and I do miss that looser structure. But at some point we'll have new episodes, and at some point we're going to do Gremlins 3, and there's many more years of content to come.
Jack's not wrong, and Corey and I don't let him forget about the promise of Gremlins 3 in Nazi Germany in outer space.
We're going to do it.
Starring Josh Hartnett.
yes.
See, now we're getting into casting. Now it's serious.
Yeah, that's how you know things are starting. Well, we promised that it would come out before actual Gremlins 3 comes out. So every day the clock ticks a little quicker.
We're playing chicken here at this point.
Yeah, we really are.
It's just with two bulldozers, one with us and one with the Gremlins producers.
Awesome. Well, thank you both again. Jack, thanks for coming in short notice. Mike, thanks for making time on a Sunday night 6 weeks after he asked you to come on our show. You can
always happy to help in a timely manner.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and Untapped at Matt the Lifeguard. Next week, we're going to talk about The Shining, like I mentioned earlier. It sounds like Corey's supposed to be back.
I'd love to watch that.
I'll believe it when I see it, because
I miss that face.
I miss his voluptuous melons.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but when Corey's doing the show, he does this neck turn like Mike Myers.
Yeah, he's like a little puppy. Just like a little.
Maybe that's a little call to Halloween H20 he's doing there. We don't even realize.
We never knew he was such a fan. But yeah, so Kyle Skogquist is gonna be coming back. He was on episode. Oh God. Should have been more prepared. He was on episode 15. We talked about Trick or Treat. Just for the two of you and anyone listening, Kyle was in a band called Impaler. The Impaler record was prominently displayed in the movie Trick or Treat.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, that was like one of the big claims to fame. But yeah, he's out in Detroit now with a family, not playing those sweet Impaler jams. But yeah, we're going to talk about The Shining. It's going to be a good time. So yeah. That's to do it for that episode of Podcast Terror. I'm killing time because I'm trying to find the right fucking window that I want to be on so I can close this.
Do you want me to vamp?
No, we're good. That's to do it for another episode of Podcast Terror.
Stay scary, everybody.